I don't need to do an introduction to Arthur Morgan. Anyone who played through the game is well experienced in who Arthur Morgan is. However, many of those people most likely don't know of Arthur's backstory. So that's what I'm going to go over today. Keep in mind that we know little about his backstory, and a lot of the information I'm getting here is from the Red Dead Wiki. Arthur Morgan was born to Beatrice and Lyle Morgan in 1863, somewhere in the northern United States. I would guess roughly around Ohio or Illinois. Arthur's mother died when he was at a young age, leaving Arthur to be raised by his father, which resulted in Arthur not exactly gaining much of an education or upbringing, since his father was a common criminal who was hanged for larceny in 1874 when Arthur was 11. After his father's death, Arthur kept his hat and began living on the streets. It was in 1877 when Arthur met Dutch Vanderlyn and Hosea Matthews. Dutch and Hosea plucked the young Arthur Morgan off the street and began to look after him, along with teaching him basic education, how to ride and take care of horses, and how to maintain and shoot a gun. Dutch also taught Arthur all about his vision of a free world without laws. This caused Arthur to fully adopt Dutch's philosophy, and he would firmly believe in this until the last few days of his life. Sometime after this, Arthur got a dog named Cooper, and had a horse named Boadicea, both of which died sometime before May of 1899. In Arthur's young adult years, he met Mary Gillis. Soon after, they started a relationship and eventually became engaged. However, Mary's father did not approve of Arthur's life of crime. Because of this, the two broke apart at an unknown time. In 1885, Dutch saved John Marston from being hanged and brought him under his wing, similar to what he did with Arthur. John and Arthur grew close, and eventually they became as close as brothers. Arthur partook in his first bank robbery in 1887 alongside Dutch and Hosea. They robbed the banking house of Lee and Hoyt and stole around $5,000 in gold. Following the robbery, the trio traveled across town and gave out some of the money to the local poor. Years later, Arthur met a 19-year-old waitress named Eliza. Shortly after, they had a son named Isaac. After this, Arthur continued to live with the gang, but he would visit them for days at a time every few months. Arthur would do this for a few years until one day he arrived and found that they had both been killed during a house robbery. Their deaths caused Arthur to believe that because of the life he lived, nothing good would come to him, solidifying his place in the gang. Abigail Roberts joined the gang in 1894. Around a year later, in 1895, Abigail gave birth to John's son, Jack. Unable to take responsibility for the child, John left the gang. When John returned a year later, Arthur couldn't look at him the same. Arthur felt betrayed by John, that not only did John run off on his son, but abandon the people who raised him and his only family. Most likely sometime between 1896 and 1898, Dutch decided that the gang needed to travel and settle down to live out the rest of their lives in peace. They were trying to find a plot of land to settle on. However, Dutch was suspicious of the plot of land, and sometime in 1898, they moved and settled deep in the wilderness of the Northern Grizzlies. After spending months in near isolation, the gang moved back to civilization and set up camp near the town of Blackwater. During this time, Arthur and Hosea started working on a real estate scam, while Dutch and Micah Bell started preparing to rob a ferry that would be passing through. However, as I'm sure you know, the ferry heist didn't go as planned. Dozens of Pinkertons ambushed the gang and forced them to flee, resulting in Arthur and Hosea having to give up on their scam. The gang fled north into the Grizzly Mountains, and what occurs in the months that follow, you already know.